Hi guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? I don't like this camera situation. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind blown moment, a new book to read, new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. Oh, now you don't want to follow me. Like you zoom in, Mr. Camera. Hermit. Check out my website, AllyKatzkreations211.com. Those are examples of my work, things I've done. If you're interested in the Christmas thing or the holiday thing, please go check out the website. I fucking can't. I'm sorry, guys. I can't stand this thing. Whatever I did, here we are. Anybody else having this problem, please comment in the comments. If you, I have like a MacBook Pro Studio desktop. It's like a year old, not even. It's not even a year old. And no idea what the hell Zoom did, but it's fucking annoying. Hermit's Journey. This is upstairs. So before I begin, we are all still being very heavily tested. I sure am. And the last 2 days after Thanksgiving, I've been pounding away at work, getting a lot of things done, close to done. I got a lot of sanding to do behind me and fixing. And then the boyfriend and the kids came over, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really have to like deep clean again. There's cat hair, Morgan shedding again. Just so I've been like trying to tackle organizing my living room and getting things cleaned and, you know, all the fun stuff of adulting. So I've been up to that, but I'm trying to rearrange some stuff to make things more practical, and we're getting there. So I'm tired. I actually have my coffee. This is not good. This is my second cup and it's late. Much needed though. I'm still recovering from Thursdays. That came into Friday. So we're not, I'm skipping around in this book. I'm skipping around for good reason, but the next 3 sections are because I kind of meditate as I'm doing my work and my pouring and whatever I'm doing. Like I start asking like, what kind of video should I be doing today? And usually it's in an order. I try to keep it in order. And sometimes I was going to do quantum AI and metaphysical ponderings today, but they told me to hold off because this is more important. But I get it. So where a lot of us are in this spot, and it proved on Thursday for how many people were very, you know, and obviously I'm always thankful for doing what I can to help everybody else out. Everybody was very thankful for that stream to be so long because some people are really by themselves and struggling. But I encourage you, everything has a purpose and holds a purpose. You just have to figure it out. This is the return home. Now, you could take this as a physical place or yourself. When I read this way back in the day, I took this as coming home to yourself. Oh, solitude. Oh, my home solitude. Too long have I lived wildly in wild, strange places, not to return home to you in tears. Now you may threaten me with your finger, as mothers threaten. Now you may smile at me, as mothers smile. Now you may say to me, and who was it that, like a storm, once stormed away from me? Who shouted in parting, too long I have sat with solitude. I have forgotten how to be silent. That I suppose you have learned again now, O Zarathustra. I know everything. Also that you were more forsaken among the many, being one, than ever with me. To be forsaken is one thing, to be lonely another, that you have learned now, and that among men you will always seem wild and strange, even when they love you. For above all things, they want consideration. Here, however, you are in your own home and house. Here you could talk freely about everything and pour out all the reasons. Nothing here is ashamed of obscure, obdurate feelings. I got it out. Here all things come caressingly to your discourse and flatter you, for they want to ride on your back. On every parable you ride to every truth. Here you may talk fairly and frankly to all things, and verily it rings in their ears like praise when somebody talks straight to all things. This brings up a lot, guys, how some people hang literally on others' words, even though they tell you to do your own research and feel it in your heart space, and you refuse. To be forsaken, however, is another matter. For do you still remember Zarathustra? When your bird cried high above you, when you stood in the forest undecided where to turn, ignorant, near a corpse, when you said, may my animals lead me? I found it more dangerous to be among men than among animals. Then you were forsaken. And do you still remember, Zarathustra, when you sat on your island, a well of wine among empty pails, spreading and expending, bestowing and flowing among the thirsty, until finally you sat thirsty among drunks and complained by night? Is it not more blessed to receive than to give, and to steal still more blessed than to receive? Then you were forsaken, and do you still remember, Zarathustra, when your stillest hour came and drove you away from yourself, speaking in an evil whisper? Speak and break, when it made you repent all your waiting in silence and discourage your humble courage, then you were forsaken. Sorry, guys, I had to pause. I had a big sneeze that came on randomly. Oh, solitude, oh, my home, solitude, how happily and tenderly your voice speaks to me. We do not question each other. We do not complain to each other. We often walk together through open doors, for where you are, things are open and bright, and the hours too walk on lighter feet here. For in darkness, time weighs more heavily on us than in the light. Here the words and word shrines of all being open up before me. Here all being wishes to become word, all becoming wishes to learn from me how to speak. Down there, however, all speech is in vain. Their forgetting and passing by are the best wisdom that I have learned now. He who would grasp everything human would have to grapple with everything. But for that, my hands are too clean. I do not even want to inhale their breath. Alas, that I live so long among their noise and vile breath. Oh, happy silence around me. Oh, clean smells around me. Oh, how this silence draws deep breaths of clean air. Oh, how it listens, this happy silence. But down there, everyone talks and no one listens. You could ring in your wisdom with bells. The shopkeepers in the marketplace would outjingle it with pennies. Everyone among them talks. No one knows how to understand anymore. Everything falls into the water. Everything falls into deep wells any longer. Everyone among them talks. Nothing turns out well anymore and is finished. Everyone cackles. But who still wants to sit quietly in the nest and hatch eggs? Everyone among them talks. Everything is talked to pieces. And what even yesterday was still too hard for time itself and its tooth, today hangs spoiled by scrapping and gnawing out of the mouths of the men of today. Everyone among them talks. Everything is betrayed. And what was once called the secret and the secrecy of deep souls today belongs to the street trumpeters and other butterflies. Doesn't that just wrap up neatly in a nice, cute little box what is happening in our paradigm right now? Because a lot of people have a lot of things to say. And a lot of people are being betrayed. They feel betrayed because they're not going and doing the inner work. And they're finding out this person is a flipper and that person's a flopper. And this person doesn't show where their thinking comes from. They're just stealing it from everybody else. And in the meantime, those are people seeding, and those seeds are being spread in the chaff and the wheat. That's not good. And the trumpeters and the memers and the people transforming are only doing it unconsciously aware that it might not be the right information. But nonetheless, it's still being spoken out. Isn't that very interesting? That little paragraph sums up a lot of what's going on right now in our paradigm. And that goes for any movement. There's so many people in the spiritual movement speaking about all these fanciful things. Yet, unless it actually starts happening and you see it tangibly manifest, it hasn't happened. And it might not. So stop having expectations and just live your life each and every day. I think this is a very big problem. I think people who had the time to actually do the work on themselves like I have, and it's a forever process. I'm always still learning and growing and moving and shifting. We all are. But what I've come to realize in my solitude is I need to listen to my heart. If I listen to everybody else, oh, this is going to go off and that, this, don't worry, Allison, everything's going to be okay. I would have been homeless by now. Worried. Oh, well, the government and all this stuff is going to wipe my credit away and I'll have all this money that they owe me anyway because they stole it from me. So rational thinking, oh, but right now it didn't happen. I would have been on the streets if I waited for everybody's fanciful words to manifest, which it still hasn't, and it's probably not the way you think it's going to manifest. So again, I'm going to reread that. Everyone among them talks. Everything is betrayed. And what was once called the secrecy of deep souls, today belongs to the street trumpeters and other butterflies. What do butterflies do? They transform. Oh, everything human is strange, a noise on dark streets, but now it lies behind me again. My greatest danger lies behind me. Consideration and pity have ever been my greatest dangers. And everything human wants consideration and pity. With concealed truths, with a fool's hand and a fond, foolish heart, and a wealth of the little lies of pity. Thus I always lived among men. Disguised I sat among them, ready to mistake myself that I might endure them, and willingly urging myself, you fool, you do not know men. One forgets about men when one lives among men. There is too much foreground in all men. What good are far-sighted, far-seeking eyes there? And wherever they mistook me, I fooled them that I am, showed them more consideration than myself, being used to hardness against myself. And often I even took revenge on myself for being too considerate. Covered with the bites of poisonous flies and hollowed out like a stone by many drops of malice, thus I sat among them, and I still reminded myself, everything small is innocent of its smallness. Everything small is innocent of its smallness, especially those who call themselves the good. I found to be the most poisonous flies. They bite in all innocence. They lie in all innocence. How could they possibly be just to me? Pity teaches all who live among the good to lie. Pity surrounds all free souls with musty air. For the stupidity of the good is unfathomable. To conceal myself in my wealth that I learned down there, for have I found everyone poor in spirit. They lie of my pity was this, that I knew I could see and smell in everyone what was spirit enough for him, and what was too much spirit for him. They're stiff sages, I called them. Sagacious, not stiff. Thus I learned to swallow words. They're grave diggers. I called them researchers and testers. Thus I learned to change words. The grave diggers dig themselves sick. Under old rubbish lie noxious odors. One should not stir up the morass. One should live on mountains. With happy nostrils, I again breathe mountain freedom. At last, my nose is delivered from the smell of everything human. Tickled by the sharp air as by sparkling wines, my soul sneezes and jubilates to itself. Gesundheit, thus spoke Zarathustra. Why this is such an important little short read here. Do you really go into yourself and reflect upon what you are seeing? Are you analyzing? This is the hard part about when you're a good person. Do you know your other side? Can you look at both sides? Or are you only seeing that one evil side? Remember, good and evil, it exists. But we have to realize and really take into consideration that we are dual. We're made of both poles. So I'm the devil in someone's story. Have you considered looking at the good with the same lens that you look at the bad? Are you looking at the negative polarity, those people that do heinous things? But are you looking at the good people in the same light? Are you justifying what the good is doing because it's deemed a good act, but are you giving it the same lens as that you give of the evil people? Many people don't. Many people are analyzing differently, looking at good than they are bad. I don't agree with everything going on right now. I don't care how holy or high or from God it comes from. Everything comes from God. Source, the infinite all in my eyes. In my interpretation of what I get channels all the time, what my guides and all the other beings that make me up. Are you taking the same scale and applying it to both sides with the same unbiased analytics? Are you looking at both sides? Are you favoring the good side because they're going to give you goodies? They're going to hand you things when you should be living those things anyway in your mind. Your sovereignty, your freedom, your liberté. It's what you do every day in your life. If it doesn't affect you, it's okay to read something. It's okay to look and watch a video, but don't absorb it. Take it as, oh, okay, that's just an added thing, an added bonus. Great, wonderful. But why are you letting it affect your day? And are you analyzing it the same as the negative polarity that you criticize and hate? Still of God's source paradigm. Are you doing that for yourself? Like, I critique my good qualities because sometimes my good qualities, I don't put enough boundaries up and I am too giving and too nice. And then I get the short end of the stick sometimes when it comes to how much help I give other people, how much time, with time equals energy, how much time people burn from me, not in a bad way, but we all have productive days. I can't be productive with my day when I'm not putting my boundaries up and saying, oh, well, I'll call you later, or I'll call you in a few days. I have things going on, right? We really need to look at ourselves in neutrality and balance both of those sides out of ourselves. We have good qualities that we can fine tune to make better, but we can put boundaries up. And we can stop swinging the pendulum all the way over here every time someone cuts us off on the road and we're this high roller. And now you're have rage and want to beat things up. You got to put all into balance, and no one's saying not to be authentic self. That's why I walk in my authenticity. I have both sides and I embrace both. I know what side I'm for. I work with the light, but that doesn't mean I don't understand my darkness and don't use it to in my advantage in this matrix. We're still here. We're still living in the game. We got to play by the game's rules, and the game's rules is a negative polarity. Well, I got to counteract. Are you doing the same? It's very interesting. This last story, it's interesting. It's just, think about it. It's not easy to word. Think on the three evils. In a dream, in the last dream of the morning, I stood in the foothills today, beyond the world, held scales, and weighed the world. Just spoke about that without even rereading this section. Alas, the jealous dawn came too early and glowed me awake. She is always jealous of my glowing morning dreams. Measurable by him who has time, weighable by a good weigher, reachable by strong wings, guessable by divine nutcrackers. Thus my dream found the world, my dream, a bold sailor, half ship, half hurricane, taciturn as butterflies, impatient as falcons. How did it have the patience or the time to weigh the world? Did my wisdom secretly urge it, my laughing, wide awake, day wisdom, which mocks all infinite worlds? For it speaks, wherever there is force, number will become mistress. She has more force. How surely my dream looked upon this finite world, not inquisitively, not acquisitively, not afraid, not begging, as if a full apple offered itself to my hand, a ripe golden apple with cool, soft velvet skin. Thus the world offered itself to me, as if a tree waved to me, broad-branched, strong-willed, bent as a support, even as a footstool for one weary of his way. Thus the world stood on my foothills, as if delicate hands carried a shrine toward me, a shrine open for the delicate of bashful, adorning eyes. Thus the world offered itself to me today, not riddle enough to frighten away human love, not solution enough to put to sleep human wisdom. A humanly good thing the world was to me today, though one speaks so much evil of it. How shall I thank my morning dream that I thus weighed the world this morning? As a humanly good thing, it came to me. This dream and heart comforter, and to imitate it by day and to learn from it was best in it. I shall now place the three most evil things on the scales and weigh them humanly well. He that taught to bless also taught to curse. What are the three best cursed things in the world? I shall put them on the scales. Sex, the lust to rule, selfishness. These three have so far been best cursed and worst reputed and lied about. These three I weigh humanly well. When then, here are my footstools, and there the sea that rolls towards me, shaggy, flattering the faithful old 100-headed canine monster that I love. Well, then here I will hold the scales over the rolling sea, and a witness I choose to look on, you solitary tree, fragrant and broad vaulted that I love. On what bridge does the present pass to the future? By what compulsion does the higher compel itself to the lower? And what bids even the highest grow still higher? Now the scales are balanced, and still three weighty questions I threw on it. Three weighty answers balance the other scales. Sex to all hair-shirted despisers of the body, their thorn and stake and curse as world among all the afterworldly, because it mocks and fools all teachers of error and confusion. Sex for the rabble, the slow fire in which they are burned, for all worm-eaten wood and all stinking rags, the ever-ready rut and oven. Sex for free hearts, innocent and free, the garden happiness of the earth, the future exuberant gratitude to the present. Sex only for the wilted, a sweet poison, for the lion-willed, however, the great invigoration of the heart, and the reverently reserved wine of wines. Sex, the happiness that is a great parable of a higher happiness, and the highest hope. For to many is marriage promised, and more than marriage to many who are stranger to each other than man and woman. And who can wholly comprehend how strange men and women are to each other? Sex, but I want to have fences around my thoughts and even around my words, lest swine and swooners break into my garden. The lust to rule, the scalding scourge of the hardest among the hard-hearted, the hideous torture that is saved up for the cruelest, the dark flame of living prairies, the lust to rule, the malicious glad fly imposed on the vainest peoples, the mocker of all uncertain virtues, the rider on every horse and every pride, the lust to rule, the earthquake that breaks and breaks open everything worm-eaten and hollow, the rumbling, grumbling punisher that breaks open whited sepulchres, the lightning-like question mark beside premature answers, the lust to rule, before whose glances man crawls and ducks and slaves and becomes lower than snake and swine, until finally the great contempt cries out of him. The lust to rule, the terrible teacher of the great contempt who preaches away with you to the very faces of cities and empires until it finally cries out of them themselves, away with me. The lust to rule, which, however, also ascends luringly to the pure and lonely and up to the self-sufficient heights, glowing like a love that lurkingly paints crimson fulfillments on earthly skies. The lust to rule, but who could call it lust when what is high longs downward for power? Verily, there is nothing diseased or lustful in such longing and condescending, that the lonely heights should not remain lonely and self-sufficient eternally, that the mountains should descend to the valley and the winds of the height to the low plains. Oh, who were to find the right name for such longing, gift-giving virtue? Thus Zarathustra once named the unnameable. And at the time it also happened, and verily it happened for the first time, that his word pronounced selfishness, blessed, the wholesome, healthy selfishness that wells from a powerful soul to which belongs a high body, beautiful, triumphant, refreshing, around which everything becomes a mirror. The supple, pervasive body, the dancer whose parable and epitome is the self-enjoying soul. The self-enjoyment of such bodies and souls calls itself virtue. With its words about good and bad, such self-enjoyment screens itself as with sacred groves. With the names of its happiness, it banishes from its presence whatever is contemptible. From its presence, it banishes whatever is cowardly. It says, bad, that is cowardly. Contemptible to its mind, in anyone who always worries, sighs, is miserable. And also anyone who picks up even the smallest advantages. It also despises all wisdom that wallows in grief. For verily there is also wisdom that blooms in the darkness, a nightshade wisdom, which always sighs, all is vain. Shy mistrust, it holds in low esteem. Also anyone who wants oaths instead of eyes and hands. Also all wisdom that is all too mistrustful, for that is the manner of cowardly souls. In still lower esteem, it holds the subservient, the dog-like, who immediately lie on their backs, the humble, and there is wisdom too that is humble and dog-like and pious and subservient. Altogether hateful and nauseating, it finds those who never offer resistance, who swallow poisonous spittle and evil glances, that all too patient, all suffering, always satisfied, for that is servile. Whether one be servile before the gods and gods, kicks, or before men and stupid men's opinions, whatever is servile it spits on, the blessed selfishness. Bad, that is what it is called. everything that is sorely stooped and sordidly servile, unfree, blanked eyes, oppressed hearts, and the false yielding manner that kisses with the wide, cowardly lips. And shame wisdom, that is what it calls the would-be wit of the servile and old and weary, and especially the old, wicked, nit-witted, witless foolishness of priests. The sham wise, however, all the priests, the world weary, and all those whose souls are womanish and servile, all what wicked tricks has their trickery always played on selfishness. And what was considered virtue and cold virtue was playing wicked tricks on selfishness, and selfless. That is how all these world worry cowards and cross-marked spiders wanted themselves for good reasons. But for all these, the day is now at hand to change the sword of judgment, the great noon. Much shall be revealed there. And whoever proclaims the ego wholesome and holy and selfishness, blessed, verily, he will always tell what he knows foretelling. Verily, it is at hand. It is near the great noon. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Very deep. Last section, on the spirit of gravity. My tongue is of the people. I speak too crudely and heartedly for Angora rabbits, and my speech sounds even stranger to all inkfish and pen hacks. My hand is a fool's hand. Beware all tables and walls and whatever else still offer room for foolish frill or scribbling skill. My foot is a cloven foot. With it I trample and trot over sticks and stones, crisscross, and I am happy as the devil while running so fast. My stomach is an eagle's stomach, for it's like lamb best of all. Certainly it is the stomach of some bird, nourished on innocent things and on little, ready and impatient to fly off. That happens to be my way. How could there not be something of the bird's way in that? And all above all, I am an enemy of the spirit of gravity. That is the bird's way, and verily a sworn enemy, arch enemy, primordial enemy. Oh, where has not my enmity flown and misflown in the past? Of that I could well sing a song and will sing it, although I am alone in an empty house and must sing it to my own ears. There are other singers, of course, whose throats are made mellow, whose hands are made talkative, whose eyes are made expressive, whose hearts are awakened only by a packed house, but I am not like those. He will one day teach men to fly, will have moved all boundary stones. The boundary stones themselves will fly up into the air before him, and he will rebaptize the earth, the light one. The ostrich runs faster than the fastest horse, but even he buries his head gravely in the grave earth. Even so, the man who has not yet learned to fly. Earth and life seem grave to him, and this the spirit of gravity wants it. But whoever would become light and a bird must love himself. Thus I teach. Prolific profoundness, and here is another way of just saying everything that I continuously say nonstop. You got to love thyself. Hi. Not to be sure with the love of the wilting and wasting, for among those even self-love stinks. One must learn to love oneself, thus I teach, with a wholesome and healthy love, so that one could bear to be with oneself and not to roam. Such roaming baptizes itself love of thy neighbor. With this phrase, the best lies and hypocrisies have been perpetrated so far, and especially by such as were a grave burden for all the world. And verily, this is no command for today and tomorrow to learn to love oneself. Rather, it is all arts and subtlest, the most cunning, the ultimate, and the most patient. For whatever is his own is well concealed from the owner. And of all treasures, it is our own that we dig up last. Thus, the spirit of gravity orders it. Seriously, guys, I say this all the time. It's just said, worded very differently. We are presented with the grave words and values almost from the cradle, good and evil. This gift is called. For its sake, we are forgiven for living. And therefore, one suffers little children to come unto one in order to forbid them betimes to love themselves. Thus, the spirit of gravity orders it. And we carry faithfully what one gives us to bear on hard shoulders and over rough mountains. And should we sweat, I saw an E there and there was an A. Whew. We are told, yes, life is a grave burden, but only man is a grave burden for himself. That is because he carries on his shoulders too much that is alien to him. Like a camel, he kneels down and lets himself be well loaded, especially the strong, reverent spirit that would bear much. He loads too many alien, grave words and values on himself, and then life seems a desert to him. And verily, much that is our own is also a grave burden, and much that is inside men is like an oyster, nauseating and slippery and hard to grasp, so that a noble shell with a noble embellishment must plead for it. But this art too must learn to have a shell, shiny, sheen, and shrewd blindness. Moreover, one is deceived about many things in man, because many a shell is shabby and sad, and altogether too much shell. Much hidden graciousness and strength is never guessed. The most exquisite delicacies find no tasters. Women know this, the most exquisite do. A little fatter, a little slimmer. Oh, how much destiny lies in so little. Man is hard to discover, hardest of all for himself. Often the spirit lies about the soul. Thus, the spirit of gravity orders it. He, however, has discovered himself who says, "This is my good and evil." With that, he has reduced to silence the mole and dwarf who say, "Good for all, evil for all." Verily, I also do not like those who consider everything good, and this world the best. Such men I call the omni-satisfied, omni-satisfaction, which knows how to taste everything that is not the best taste. I honor the recalcitrant, choosely tongues and stomachs, which have learned to say I and yes and no, but to chew and digest everything that is truly the swine's manner. Always to bray, yea, huh, that only the ass has learned, and whoever is of his spirit. Deep yellow and hot red, thus my taste wants it. It mixes blood into all colors, but whoever whitewashes his house betrays a whitewashed soul to me. Some in love with mummies, the others with ghosts, and both alike enemies of all flesh and blood. Oh, how both offend my taste, for I love blood. And do I not want to reside and abide where everybody spits and spews? That happens to be my taste. Rather, I would whether I would live even among thieves and perjurers. Nobody has gold in his mouth. Still more revolting, however, I find all lick spittles, and most revolting human animal that I found I baptized parasite. It did not want to love, and yet it wanted to live on love. Cursed I call all who have only one choice, to become evil beasts or evil tamers of beasts. Among men, I would not build my home. Cursed I call those too who must always wait. They offend my taste. All the publicans and shoekeepers and kings and other land and storekeepers, verily I too have learned to wait thoroughly, but only to wait for myself. And above all, I learned to stand and walk and run and jump and climb and dance. This, however, is my doctrine. He who would learn to fly one day must first learn to stand and walk and run and climb and dance. One cannot fly into flying. With rope ladders, I have learned to climb to many a window. With swift legs, I climb high masts. And to sit on high masts of knowledge seemed to me no small happiness. To flicker like small flames on high mists, a small light only, and yet a great comfort for shipwrecked sailors and castaways. By many ways, in many ways, I reached my truth. It was not on one ladder that I climbed to the height where my eyes roams over my distance, and it was only reluctantly that I ever inquired about the way. That always offended my taste. I prefer to question and try out the ways themselves. A trying and questioning was my every move. And verily, one must also learn to answer such questioning. That, however, is my taste. Not good, not bad, but my taste, of which I am no longer ashamed and which I have no wish to hide. This is my way. Where is yours? Thus I answered those who asked me the way, for the way that does not exist. Thus spoke Zarathustra. That is heavy, and God's neutral, divine neutral, neutrality, all of it is right there. You are a divine expression of source who's living a unique experience. So source in all the fractals of the higher densities living through you are having those experiences that you are providing them in this reality. How are you answering your questions? How are you looking at both sides? How are you putting up your boundaries? How are you doing the work on yourselves? Are you walking the walk and then talking the talk? Are you gaining that experience? Are you going through that wisdom? You can only do that if you have the experiences and you do it for yourself. No one has your answers. You have them for yourself. Yes, outside things give you validations, but it's really source giving you validations. It's showing you your strength and your power. It's through both. When you start understanding it and embodying it and understanding it, things become a little easier in life because your mental gymnastics is not so strained anymore. I'm not wobbling when I jump on that balance beam anymore. Yeah, I have some moments I make a flip-flop, right? But I've been catching myself in moments that are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's look at the whole picture before I give an answer, or before I get into something that I might not be okay with. Or am I allowing other people to dictate to me when the world events are going to happen and how I should feel about them? And what everybody is going to go through is going to be this big soul of flesh, and everything magical is going to happen. Guys, if you keep listening to other people without going within and knowing what is right for you, you hanging on everybody else's videos and words isn't going to help solve your problems. Everybody, what am I? I don't know. Where am I from? I don't know. Are you doing the work? And I know many more people are now, but for whoever sees this, okay, people still stuck. I'm like trying to rattle you in a gentle but forceful way. He doesn't care, right? Nietzsche wrote what he wrote because it is important for people to get the kick in the butt to start waking themselves up to what really is going on and to how to help yourself. This book profoundly changed my course of thinking, and it really helped steer my change and my metamorphosis in seeing both sides, understanding both sides of myself, the shadow and the light. Where do I fall? Am I allowing, and they did, guys. I used to watch other people's stuff, and I would take it to my heart. But now, as I keep going in and getting to know thyself even more and starting to expand further and out and start getting all my other fractals starting to be embodied in me, I'm going to tell you what, it's hard to listen to a lot of people that I truly love, and not because I don't love them as brothers and sisters and amazing people, because they are. They're not going into their heart space, and they're not really going through. They're just reading, or they're dictating to you what agenda they're doing and steering. And again, everybody's agenda might flow with yours because you're of that ancestry, you're of that God spark. Remember, not everybody has the same God spark. I have the Christic spark. There's other sparks. You, in order for you to have a soul, you have to have some kind of spark. The encoding of your soul. I know which one, I know what group I'm from. I know what agenda they're sharing. Do I agree with it? Not really. But I don't agree with many others. Things are going to play out. We already won. We have to just meet the energy. And when we do and work on thyself and really start understanding things and pushing back. A lot of people want to know. I got a lot of messages privately, and I won't divulge names, asked me why I didn't go on live on Thursday. Because no one's really, I can't say no one. A lot of people agree with what I'm saying, and yet I see the hypocrisy in their words. And I feel the pull and the tug in their intention. It's not because they're not good people. It's just they're working on themselves and they're not there yet. So I'm giving compassion and grace. Again, it's okay if you're not where I am thinking in that mentality, but I'm showing you through books why this is so important. Why looking at both sides of the coin and understanding both sides of the coin and what source is doing in totality, why you need to start giving compassion. This is fourth density lessons, guys. I'm sorry, but if we want to all ascend as a humanity and not individually on our, yes, we're all individually going on our own timeline, but if you are sitting there and not having compassion for all these tire smackdown and grace and giving it unconditional love, I'm sorry, do you really think you're moving up? Are you going to keep continuing to smear and really put down other people for having an experience God is having? Blue button, push it. Those are the very same people that we need to have compassion and unconditional love for. And all the people that we smear because they're communists and fascists and dictators, they're just having an experience. What did you learn from them? What's your takeaway? They're here for an experience. And if we want to move up in density, the experiences have to stop. We already have everything within us. Drop the veil. Go here. Start remembering who you are. Yes, it's divine timing when you get certain things. Don't force anything. It will come to you. But I'm going to tell you right now, that last section is the reason why they wanted me to read those 3 sections. This is where we are in the energy. This is what's being purged through everybody right now. The past ancient cycles. You know, a lot of the memes that say, you know, you're the black sheep of the family and you're ending the ancestral curse, whatever that curse may be, or a pattern of cycling that has continuously happened with all the people in your family and all the roles that you play for each other in each and every one of those lives. Majority of us are here to stop those cycles and end it, like cut it out. Goodbye. We're not repeating those things anymore because we're moving forward. That's why it's a big part of what's going on in our world today. We got to evolve, but we need to purge all those things that are inside the blood, the DNA, the coding, the ancestry, all of that. We got to say bye-bye. I cut the cords to the entanglement. You're not influencing me no more. And all the ancestors that are cheering you on and all up there, they're all like cheering you on because you're stopping a cycle. But if you don't know thyself, how do you know which cycle you're stopping? This is the energy that's coming out right now. And this is one of the harder energies to deal with because a lot of suppression is in us, in our subconscious, and we might not be aware of it, and it's being projected at others. This is very heavy energy, and it's going not just collectively, it's going on in the land and everything else. We're purging. So people are going to continue to push your buttons. People are going to ignore you. People are not going to be the light that they tell you they're going to be. I see it already. We all need to be here for each other, but we also need to understand you need to be there for yourselves. I learned this a very long time ago as a child. My parents really weren't there for me. They didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know what to say, how to make things better. They just tortured me. And that's the experience that I needed to kick my own ass to know that I can be self-sufficient. Let's just say the test was mom's dead. You lost it all. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to persevere? Are you going to kick your own ass and get moving? Or are you going to give up and fall off? What did I choose? To stand up and persevere. Sucked every moment of it, but it made me a stronger human being. It proved to myself, no one else. I didn't need to prove anything to anybody. I had to prove it to myself that I could do it. It's very important that you understand those experiences, those things that go on in your life, why they're there. Look at both sides. You're made up of both. Come to neutrality and start understanding that from your own perspective, and then start looking outside in the world to see the imbalances on both sides. Because let me tell you right now, oh, all this stuff is happening. Everything's succinct in numbers. Oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. My magical watch here. Oh, but time, linear. Time doesn't exist. Well, agreed. But we're on some time of wavelength that dictates to us events moving forward and jumping up into higher wavelengths of oscillating vibratory states. The show and the movie will end when we all start going and doing our own work. When we stop feeding energy to things that are not conducive to your everyday life. Again, when you look outside of yourself for the answers, you're allowing something to have power over you. You get the information, you go to your heart space and see if that even makes sense to you. And if it does, then you can start moving forward and taking it. But you got to go within. This is a very big problem that people have, and I'm seeing it all the time. The nonsensical shit that people argue over. It's a clone. But that's a mask. Look at it. Yeah, it's great. It's to wake people up. Why are you arguing over that? I don't care. Again, I'm going to bring it out. I don't care who JFK Jr. is. Thank you if you're alive. But are you putting anything on my table to make my life any easier? And I could say the same thing for 45. I could say any one of those people. I have not idolized them. I don't put them on an altar. Many people do. We are as equal. They're no above or below us. You just have to catch up to their frequency. That's all. Stop putting people on podiums. You're as equal to them. We all are equal. All of us. Are you sleeping on that matter too? Or if you feel inferior, no, not me. Me? Nah. I felt these ways a few years ago until I started doing more and 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 more work on myself. Then it dawned on me. God created heaven, the earth, and everything within it. How is anybody above one another? We're just having experiences that Source wants to have through each and every one of our unique avatars. We are all one. So why are we putting anybody on a pedestal? Why are we giving and feeding even the light? Why are we putting them on a pedestal? He's a time traveler. We are all traveling in time, back and forward, all of us. Or we're grabbing other entities. Many of us can do that. Some of us are not even consciously aware that we are. Why are we putting people on pedestals? Why are we idolizing people? That doesn't take my support away from a particular person. Of course not. Totally. But I'm not taking myself and lowering myself and making myself feel inferior because everybody putting him on a podium and saying he's a quasar. Many of us are. Because one person in a book wrote that doesn't make it so. Like, I read a whole bunch of different types of books. Some of them bleed into each other. Blavatsky does with a Manly P. Hall. The Curtises mesh in with that as well. The Curtises mesh in with Dolores Cannon Dean and the Law of One. A lot of these things bleed into each other, and these are different types of things. Nietzsche also is bleeding into a lot of different things. Barbara Messiniak bleeds in there too. And when I say bleed, it's like meshing in with the same concept and ideas spoken in different ways, in different wording. I mean, Carlos Castaneda as well. Albert Camus. These are prolific and profound literary geniuses, in my eyes. Some of them from very way back, and some of them current. We got to realize, if you start seeing and getting the same messages from different sources and different things, and you're grabbing everything, it's the ether that Tesla was grabbing from. He understood that. You're no different from anybody. Stop putting people below you and above you. We're the equal. We're in the middle of that scale. Stop rolling with your homies, because it needs to be even. So guys, I know I went off on a tangent. I do apologize, but I'm again channeling from upstairs. This is something that needs to be conveyed, and they are like this. They made me grab the book, and they're like, you got to spew this out because it's very important. We're at a very delicate time right now. As much as everybody wants these fanciful things to happen, the most fanciful thing you could do is wake up every morning and give your gratitude that you're alive, that you're going to live your best day, that you're going to look in the mirror and say, I love you compassionately, that you're going to give other people compassion and grace, for they know not. For you understand that it's source heaven and experience through them, and that you're going to learn and going to have lessons to impart on others. We're here for a reason. You're no different from anybody else. So stop lowering your esteem, or stop being a narcissist and raising your esteem like, oh, you're the one and only. No, I'm like I keep saying, I'm not alone, but I'm not special. All of you are like me. You just have to discover it for yourselves. I'm human, having a spiritual experience. Still human. We're all flawed. We have issues and problems. But if you work on yourself each and every day, things are going to get better. They don't have to take your entire day up to work on yourself. Small little incremental things each day can help you. But for those who are in the Hermit's journey, take the time to write, express, manifest, but know thyself on both sides. And whatever healing and things are coming up to surface to purge it in a healthy way. I'm seeing a lot of destructiveness happening right now, but again, that's source experiencing itself. Yay! Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protection. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, all the links to help me out and keep me going is in the comment section. And if you would like some artwork, I am not charging an arm and a leg for the things. And a lot in the United States, shipping is included in the price. Some stuff is expensive to ship. I'm not gaining much. I'm not trying to have an energy exchange so people can heal. It's my job, my mission, one of many. So thank you all for joining me on this almost Sunday morning. Please be safe, be seen, guys. And depending how I've been feeling, it's gonna snow here overnight. We'll see what happens. I'll get a video in tomorrow as well. Hopefully it's whatever spirit wants at this point is what I do. I don't fight anymore because the messages have to come out. But I'm exhausted. You can hear it in my voice. I need sleep. So I hope everybody has a really good night. And I'll see many of you tomorrow early in the morning in the chat. Chit chat with me on We Not Me. And until the next time, guys.